Hello guys, and welcome to another video and another effect. In this video I'm going to show you how to create this really nice effect that you can add to your UICollectionView cells. It's a beautiful highlighting animation that I found on the App Store app, and I wanted to create it and share it with you guys. So as you can see in the screen of my iPhone, we have a UICollectionView and that have few cells, and those cells have a round corners and shadow, and you can see this really nice animation that I really love. It really makes the difference between a normal UICollectionView and this one. So without further ado, let's dive in. But actually, before we do that, I just want to say, if you guys didn't subscribe yet, please do, because there will be a lot of videos like this and a lot of effects in both Android and iOS that will make your app look phenomenal and will make it look like from another planet. So yeah, let's dive in. Alright guys, we are now at my computer, and as you can see, this is a newly created project. I called it Cell Highlighting Animation Tutorial. It doesn't have anything at all, just an app delegate, view controller, main storyboard, and an assets folder. In here I just added a poster. It's the poster that I will put in my cells. And just for you guys to know, if you saw my previous tutorial, you will know that I never use storyboards, and it's because, in my opinion, when your application becomes complex with time, the storyboards becomes limiting to the development. So I create my views entirely programmatically. So let's start by creating a UI collection view. So just Command N or File, New File, and then let's call it my collection view controller. And then we're going to use the UIKit library because we are using classes from this library. Sorry, waiting for it to load. And for the naming convention, I usually name my classes as the name of the file. So in this case, my collection view controller, and it's going to inherit from the UI collection view controller. So we're gonna have to override the method view did load and then call the super function view did load. Just for you guys to know, this is just a function that executes every time our collection view loads. So for this collection view to work, we're gonna need to override some of the functions, and one of them is number of items, and we're gonna return just it's the number of cells that we are going to have, and we're going to return, for example, in our case, just 4. And then we're going to need a reference to our cell. So let's override a cell for item at, and then let's have a reference to the cell. So we do it just this way: cell equal collection view dot dequal. And then we're going to put an identifier here. Let's put something we can remember, and then we're going to use this index path that we have in the parameters of the function here. So index path, and then let's return the cell, return cell. Just for you guys to know, this index path is just an object that have information about the current cell, and in this case it can have useful information like the index and other useful information as well. So just for us to know that this collection view works, let's give the cell a color. So we do it this way. Let's call cell, then background color, then equals, for example, red. If you didn't guys know that this syntax here, this is the same as saying UI color dot red. It is a beautiful functionality for Swift that I really love. It makes things shorter, and we don't have to write the whole class to get a reference to this property here. So let's just write dot red, and we're gonna have to tell our UI collection view how it should create the new cells. Well, there is two ways. Either use the default cells, or we can create our custom cell. In this example that I will show you, we're gonna need to create our own cell, but let's create a default cell for now, just to show you guys that this is working. So collection view register, and then we're gonna call the class for the cell, for the default cell. So UI CollectionView Cell.self, and then here we're gonna use the identifier that we used here, so it's cell. All right. So to see this UI, so if we compile now, we're not going to see anything, and the reason why is because we don't have yet a root controller for our project here. So we're gonna have to make this collection view as the root controller, view controller, and we are going to do that in the app delegate. So let's go here, and we're going to use this window variable here. So window dot root view controller dot my collection view controller, and that's it. So what do we want is we want a UI collection to have a vertical scrolling, plus we want a spacing from the left and spacing from the right, and then we're gonna have to set the size of the cell and then spacing from the bottom. And to be able to do all this, we're gonna need to use a class called UICollectionView Flow Layout. And the way to use it, so let's just create a variable, call it layout, and then it's going to be an instance of UICollectionView Flow Layout. Let's set the scroll direction. Sorry. Okay, layout.scroll direction. It's going to be vertical. And then we're going to have to pass this layout object to our collection view controller here. And the way to do it is we're going to call this parameter here. So collection view layout, and then we're going to pass the layout object. So if we compile now, what we are going to see is 4 cells horizontally. All right, we're waiting. Okay, we're going to see this 4 cells horizontally aligned, and the reason why is we didn't set the height of the cell or the spacing or anything. And the way to do that is let's go to the My Collection View controller, and we're going to need to override two more functions. And to have access to those functions, we're going to have to conform to a protocol, and this protocol belongs to the UI collection view flow layout. So it's called the UI collection view delegate flow layout. And then we can now override those two functions. So one of them is size for item, and it accepts. We're gonna have to return a CG size class. So CG size object. So return CG size, and we're gonna use the constructor that have the width and the height. So this one. And for the width of the cell, it's going to be the width of the screen minus 60, so we can have 30 from the left and from the right. So we do it just like so. So view dot frame dot width minus 60. Okay, and for the height, let's just put 400 for now. And the other function that we're going to override is that it's going to give us the ability to add the spacing between the cells. So it's called minimum line spacing for section add. So we're going to return a number. Let's put 30 for now. And let's make the collection view, the background here, white. So let's go here and call CollectionView object and then background color, and then let's give it white. Alright, so let's compile and see what happens. I think everything is going to be okay now. Okay. As you can see, our CollectionView controller works just fine. So what we are going to do now is we are going to add a poster to our collection, to our cells, and so that I can show you the problem with the rounded corners and having shadows in the same time, because usually we cannot. So I'm going to show you the problem, and I'm going to show you a workaround for it. And of course, if you know other workarounds, you are free to comment in the comment section. But first, let's create our custom cell. Command N, and then next, let's call it my custom cell. Alright, we're going to import the UI kit. Alright, and for the class, for the name, it's my custom cell. Is going to inherit from the UICollectionView cell, and we're going to need to override the function in it and call the constructor that has the parameter frame in it. So we pass this frame here. Alright, it's going to tell us to fix a problem. We just have to, okay, we're waiting for it. Alright, you just press fix, and then we're having a custom cell now. So what we're going to do now is add in the poster first. So let's create a function and call it construct views. In this function, we're gonna construct our cell, the views in our cell. So let's call it construct views, and then func construct views. Alright, I forgot the S here. Alright, so let's start by creating a poster. So let poster of UI or equals UI image view, and then we're gonna set the source of the image. So image equals UI image, and we're gonna use the constructor that has the named parameter in it, and put the name of the image, which in this case is poster. And what do we want also is to tell the image view to scale the image to whatever size in order to fill our cell. And in order to do that, we're going to have to specify this property here, content mode, and then we put scale aspect fill. And when we do that, we're going to have a problem. So if the image scales, it could overflow or go outside of the cell. So we're going to have to cut everything outside of the cell, and we're going to do that by calling the poster.clip to bounce to true. So what we're going to do now is we are going to specify some constraint in order to resize the UI view in order to fit this cell. So we do that by calling poster and left anchor dot we constrain it to the left anchor of the cell. So let's use this function here, and it's going to get the left anchor of the cell, and then poster right anchor, we're going to constrain it to the right anchor of the cell, and then poster top anchor, and it's going to be constrained to the top anchor of the cell, and then finally the bottom anchor is going to be constrained to the bottom anchor of the cell. And this will not work unless we specify a property, and we specified this way, poster dot translate, and we give it to false, translate auto resizing mask into constraints. And also this will not work because we need to activate those constraints. So let's do it by calling the isActive property, and then we give it true. Let's copy and paste this for the rest. And then we forgot to add our poster to the cell. So let's just do that. Poster, add subview poster. So if we compile now, we're not going to have anything. It's going to be the same red squares that we had all earlier. And the reason why is we didn't specify this custom cell to our UICollectionView controller. So let's do that. We just have to modify this UI. Instead of doing UICollectionView cell here, we're gonna call our class, and then instead of returning the normal cell, we are going to return our custom cell, and we do it this way. So if we compile now, we're gonna have cells with images. All right. Okay, I think we have a problem here, so let's just fix it. So what does it say? 1 second. Okay, I'm going to fix it and be right back. Alright guys, the reason of the crash was that I called the add subview after setting the constraints, and we should not do that. We should add the subview before setting the constraints, and when we do that and compile, you're gonna see now that everything works fine. So let's just wait it for a second, and everything works fine. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to give our cell rounded corners, and then we're going to give it shadows and show you that it doesn't work. And I'm going to show you after that the workaround for it. So let's start by giving our cell a corner radius. So we do it by calling layer. Because we are in the cell directly, we have access to the layer. So we do corner radius and give it 15. And then we're gonna call the function collect2bounce and give it true, sorry. And the way to think about it is think about a frame around the cell, and around this cell, for example, when we do layer the corner radius, we are setting just the frame around the cell. And in order for the corner radius to show, we're gonna have to call the collect2bounce. This function, this property is going to cut everything around outside of the frame, and in our case including the shadows. So let me show you, just 1 second here. Alright, I don't know if you can see well because we don't have so much white here. We didn't think this through, but as you can see here, there is a corner radius. So let's now set the shadows. We do that by calling layer.shadow color, and let's give it a UI color.black, and it accepts a CG color, so let's convert it. And then layer.shadow offset, and we're gonna use this CG size with the constructor that have the width and the height, and we're gonna specify 0, 0. And the way to think about this is, you can think about it as an X and Y. So if you want the shadow to be in the middle, we're gonna set it to 0. So if you want the shadow to be a little bit more to the right and to the bottom, you're gonna set it, for example, to here to 10, and then to 10 here. And if you want it to be the direction of it to be to the top, we're going to set, for example, here to -10, so it's going to be to the top. For now, we're going to set it to 0 here and 0 here, and let's continue. Layer, let's set the opacity, so layer opacity, shadow opacity, and we're going to give it to 0.8, and it's the opacity of the shadow. 0, you're not going to see any shadow. 1, you're going to see this blackish shadow, and between 0 and 1 are the values of the opacity, and just to make it a little bit clearer, so for me I'm going to put 0.8. so let's add another property, so shadow radius, and let's give it 15, so it's going to be a radius shadow. And just for now, let's put this to false, just for you to see that there is actually a shadow. Let's wait it a second. And as you can see, we have a shadow. And if you put this to true, you're gonna see that we're gonna have everything clipped around the edges of the cell, including the shadows that are outside. As you can see, we have no shadow now. And the workaround for this is we are going to create a container view that will contain all our subviews, and we're gonna make this container view have rounded corners, while we are going to make our cell transparent and make it have some shadows. And of course, the container view will be in the top of the cell, so we're gonna have a container view with a round corners, in the same time some shadows on the transparent cell, so it's going to look like a cell with round corners and shadows. So let's do just that, and let's start by creating the container view. So let's go here and let's create a variable container view of type UI view, and okay, sorry, we're gonna make it equal to UI view, and then let's add this container view to the cell. So let's go to the top and add the container view to the cell, and let's make the container view have rounded corners, and also let's constrain it to the bounds of the cell. So let's start by make it have rounded corners. We do that by calling layer, then corner radius, we give it 15, and then of course let's not forget the clip to bounds. So container view dot clip to bounds equals true. And now let's constrain it to the bounds of the cell. So let's do it this way. Let's constrain the left anchor to the left anchor of the cell. So sorry, mistyping. So left anchor, and then container view dot right constraints to the right anchor of the cell, then container view dot top anchor, let's constrain it to the top anchor of the cell. What is it? Top anchor, and then bottom anchor constraint to the bottom anchor of the cell. And of course this will not work unless we do is active equals true. Let's copy and paste, and also we're gonna have to give a property to false. This property container view translate auto resizing mask into constraint, we're gonna have to give it to false, otherwise the constraints won't work. So now let's add the poster here to the container view. Alright, so instead of just add subview, we're gonna have to do container view dot add subview, and then we can leave this because the container view have the same size of the cell, but I prefer to have a clean code, so let's do it. Let's add a parent here. We're gonna have to use the parent anchors. So container view dot right anchor, container view dot top, and then container view dot bottom. So and for now, we're going to make our cell transparent while giving it some shadows. So let's make our cell transparent. So we do it by calling layer dot background color equals UI color. UI color, and then clear, and then I'm gonna have to convert it to the CG color, and let's give it some shadow. So shadow, let's start by radius, no problem, and then layer dot shadow, opacity, let's give it 0.8, layer dot shadow, offset is going to be a CG size, and we're going to use the constructor that have the width and their height, and we're going to give it 0 and 0, and then finally layer dot layer dot shadow dot radius. What are we missing here? The color. So shadow color, it's going to be black, UI color dot black, and then we're going to convert it to the CG color. So let's remove this and compile and see what happens. Hopefully we didn't forget anything here. Alright. Okay. So now we are having a UI collection view with some cells that have rounded corners and shadow, and our first video and our first part just finished now, and in the next part we're going to complete the construction of our cell and add in the animation in question. So guys, if you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell button, and there is actually a written version of this video. You will find the link in the description video. So I'll see you in the next video.